So today's daily coding question is as follows. We've got a salary here, salary variable, and it's set to 12,500. And then we've got a function which prints out salary, and inside the function we've got another salary variable that's 12,000, and then a print statement of salary and the salary. And then finally another print statement of the salary down below. So what actually happens here, and the key to this really is all about scope. So if I click on this one here, we've got something which is the global scope. So this variable salary here is actually in the global scope itself. And then if I go on to this one over here inside our function, so our function is over here, all of this is inside the local scope, which means it's inside the scope of the function. So this variable salary is completely different to this variable salary here because they're at different scope levels. And then finally, when we get down to the bottom print statement, this again is in the local scope. In the global scope, which is this one over here. So what we're left with is two salaries that are in the global scope, this one, and one that is in the local scope over here. So what are we now expecting to see, given that we understand the scopes and how they actually work? Well, we first of all define this variable. Nothing happens at this point in time. We've just defined salary in our global space. Next, we create this function here. Nothing happens, although the print statement's here, because the function's just been defined, it hasn't yet been called. Then finally on this line here, we are actually to call a function. So when we call a function, it goes back up to here. We get the local scope of salary in our local function, and then we print it out. So we should get 12,000 as our first statement. So that's going to be possibly this one at this point in time, and not the one below, and potentially not the one below that. Finally, after this function has been called and therefore the print statement has run, we move on to the next print statement, which is the salary here. And then it looks like we print the final salary in the global scope. This question is all about scoping basically. And what we can do is actually try to run this. So we'll open up a little block of code now, and we will type it all out. So salary equals 12,500. I'm using underscores because it's nice and clean. We define a variable like this, define a function. We will print some form of salary, and inside here we're not going to have a return statement, although we could. In fact, I'll leave the return statement Control Z because it's quite nice to see what's actually happening. So this is salary, and it's actually in the local scope, and it's 12,000 like this. And then we are actually going to print out the salary, and the salary that we're going to be printing. And if you saw something here when I finished typing the actual salary part here, we can see that this shaded blue turns into a bright blue because that's actually picked up, and this is what's getting printed in the print statement. This is local to the function. I'm keeping the return statement so it's actually clear that we finished the function, and we can see that from the end of the indentation over here. This is where the function actually ends. So I go down to here and we're back out of our indentation. We actually call our function, so print, actually let's just call our function, and our function is called function, so we're not calling it print salary. It's even clearer that way. So let's actually call function that way, so there's no confusing of what it actually is. And then we're going to do a print statement now, which is completely separate from our function, and have salary in here. So quotations of salary like that, and then salary like this. So, and this one here is going to be taking the global salary up here. This is our global variable, and that's going to feed down into the print statement over here. And that's pretty much it. So apart from one thing, let's make this nice. We will call this, I'm going to call this the local salary, And I'm actually going to call this one, just so that it's totally unambiguous, I'm going to call it the global salary, because it lays in the actual global namespace. So let's just move this across if we can. Don't know if we can. No, I'll undo all of the comments, and we'll actually run this piece of code, and we actually do see local salary, and then we see the global salary above. So that's basically it. That's how it works. That is scoping in Python. Things that are inside of functions are retained within their local scope, and things that are outside of the function are in the global namespace. So that's it. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like, hit the follow. If you don't like this video, also hit the thumbs up, like and follow button too.